I would like to call the Monday, February 1st, 2021 Oakwood City Council meeting to order. Would you please rise and join me with the pledge to the flag? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. May I have a roll call, please, Lori?
Mayor Duncan?
Here.
Vice Mayor Byington?
Here.
Mr. Stevens?
Here.
Mrs. Hilton?
Here.
Mr. Epley?
Here.
Thank you. And may I have a report on the minutes of our January 4th regular session, work session, and executive session, our January 12th executive session, and our January 20 executive session. Councilmember Hilton.
Yes, Your Honor, I've reviewed the minutes from all 5 of those meetings, and I found them to be correct and complete, and therefore I move that they be adopted as written.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you. So ordered. As I reported at our last meeting, we do have citizen volunteers for our various committees to City Council, and we have filled some of those, proposing to fill some of those this evening, not all. We still have a few vacancies, but I'm recommending to Council that we reappoint Andy Ide to the Planning Commission, Kevin Hill to our Board of Zoning Appeals, Dr. Elizabeth Mayman to our Oakwood Board of Health, and in our Budget Review Committee, which is a 35-member committee consisting of 5 members from each of our 7 precincts, we have John Jervis in Precinct A, Bill Frapwell, Precinct B, Yosaku Kawai, Precinct D, Ella Himes, Ellen Fodge, and Doug Kinsey, Precinct E, Jazz Kidwell, Precinct F, and Pete Luther, Precinct G. And then we've asked Eric Shirk to be reappointed to our Tax, Water, and Sewers Appeals Board. And then finally, William Stevens to our ADA Compliance Board. I make a motion that we approve all these folks to serve on our various committees. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, any other discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you. So ordered. We hope to have the rest of our committee appointments finished, and we'll bring those to the City Council meeting on March 1st. We do have some visitors in the hallway or in the chambers today. If any of them wish to address council at this time, this would be when you would want to come down to the podium and state your name and address for the record. And we would welcome anybody who wishes to address council. All right. I see the press is here represented, but you have nothing to say. Is that correct? You just write. You don't talk. Okay. Thank you, sir. We also invited anybody who wished to phone in a council comment to contact our clerk of courts, but Lori informs me immediately before the meeting that no one decided to call in for a phone call. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Thank you. So then this will conclude the visitors portion of our meeting. We do have one piece of legislation this evening, and Vice Mayor Byington has a report on this.
Yes, Your Honor. This is an ordinance to amend Section 1 of the 2021 original appropriation ordinance number 4925 to provide for the appropriation of an additional amount of $37,559.33 to be expended from the Fire Insurance Trust Fund as a release of security for the repair of residential premises damaged by fire for the City of Oakwood, State of Ohio, during the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2021. This is a supplemental appropriation ordinance that is necessary to address fire insurance proceeds that came into the city's possession after council adopted its 2021 budget and appropriation ordinance. As required by the State of Ohio, Oakwood established a fire insurance trust fund in 1981. The fund functions much like an escrow account, except that it is non-interest bearing. When a property in the city is damaged by fire, the property owner's insurance company sends a portion of the insurance proceeds to the city. We hold it in the Fire Insurance Trust Fund until repairs are completed, and then it is turned over to the insured property owner, minus any cost the city might incur to secure or make the structure safe before repairs are completed. In December, there was a fire at 502 Volusia Avenue that resulted in an insured loss, and the city recently received $37,559.33 from the owner's insurance company. This supplemental appropriation will allow us to disperse that money to the property owner after the repairs are completed and making any deductions required by law. Under Section 3.04 of the city charter, this ordinance will take effect upon its passage. I move that council waive the second reading and adopt it this evening.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Because we're waiving the second reading, that requires a 4/5 vote of council. Lori, would you please call the roll?
Mayor Duncan?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Byington?
Yes.
Mr. Stevens?
Yes.
Mrs. Hilton?
Yes.
Mr. Epley?
Yes.
Thank you. That concludes our legislation. We do have a staff report tonight for the first time in a while, and we're excited about that. And Chief Hill of our Public Safety Department, the floor is yours. Welcome.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. Good evening. Just going to talk about a few different topics since we last spoke last summer. Going to review some 2020 crime stats, current fire and EMS trends, some personnel changes, talk a little bit about our in-service training program, Citizens Police Academy, and just an update on where the Safety Department stands with the Ohio Collaborative process. First chart I want to review is just our Part 1 and our major crimes, a 2019 to a 2020 comparison. If you look overall at the charts, you're going to see a significant increase on the right side in the 2020 column versus the 2019 column. This primarily due to the increase in larcenies, thefts that we experienced at political signs. I'm going to talk a little bit more about that in detail here in a couple more slides, and also our auto thefts. When you break down the 7 Part 1 crimes, the top, or 8 Part 1 crimes, the top 5 are crimes against persons, with the homicide, attempted murder, rape, robbery, and aggravated assault. As you can see, for 2020, those columns are all zeros, where we like it to be. And then you have your crimes against property, which is your burglaries, larcenies, and auto thefts, and that's where we experienced an increase from 2019 to 2020. If you just look back at a 10-year graph here from 2011 to 2020, although we had a significant increase, as I said, in our Part 1 crimes due to those theft of political signs, we're well within where we have been in the past. And actually, if you would remove those political signs, we would be a little bit below than last year. Like I've said this before, I'll put our Part 1 crime numbers up against any community in the region with regards to where we're at. But this gives a little bit perspective with regards to, although we are up from 2019 to 2020, we are well within the normal range of what we've experienced over the past decade. Burglaries, we did see an increase in burglaries. I stood at this podium last year because we had a banner year, and I said we're going to celebrate it because it may never happen again, because we had 0 burglaries reported in 2019. And I said there's only one place we could go from here, and that was up, and we did. We had 6 burglaries in 2020, but I'm happy to report every single one of them we were able to clear as well. And again, when you go back and you look at the graph over the last decade, although we did experience a significant increase, the last 3 years of 2017, 18, and 19 have been absolutely exceptional, with having 1 burglary in 2017, 2 in 2018, and 0 in 2019. Even though we did have an increase in this year, we're well below what our 10-year average would be. As I mentioned, the theft reports, when you look at this chart, the number that jumps off the board is 91 to 59. Last year, in 2019, we had 59 reported thefts, and in this year, we had 91 reported thefts, with clearing 48 of those reported offenses. You know, we experienced a 55% increase in reported larceny offenses. Our clearance rate was approximately 52%, which is 30% above the national average clearance rate of 22%. The primary reason for the significant increase in larceny offenses was due to the reported theft of political signs. Overall, the safety department took approximately 35 theft of political yard sign reports, and the majority were cleared by arrest, with 5 juveniles aging in range from 14 to 17 being charged in multiple incidents. Normally, through a normal year, we know it was a politically charged year this fall in the election campaign season, and we don't experience, and we historically have never experienced reported theft of yard signs the way we've experienced this past fall. And if you would actually subtract those 35 out, our theft numbers would actually be below what they were in 2019, which is incredible. Mid-50s. I think 56 would be the number. 56 reported thefts minus the theft of political signs for a community that has 3,800 residential units and 9,200 population and the 2.2 square miles to have one reported theft on average per week. It's a pretty spectacular number. Auto thefts. The next number that jumps off the chart here is auto thefts. We experienced a significant increase in auto thefts from 2019 to 2020. We average 1 or 2 a year. In this past year, 2020, we had 13. Just a little bit more about that. As I mentioned, we average normally 1 to 2. This past year, we had 13. But of the 13 vehicles stolen, each vehicle was unlocked with keys inside the vehicle. No forced entry was used in any one of these thefts of automobiles. And I'm happy to report all 13 vehicles have been recovered. So if anybody's watching out there at home, I encourage you, remove your keys from your vehicle and lock your vehicle, because of what we have seen over the past 12 months is a significant increase in vehicles being stolen from our city. And in many of these cases, the suspects that have stolen the vehicles in our city are using those vehicles in other crimes in neighboring jurisdictions. And in total, 5 cases have been cleared by arrest, or another agency is pursuing criminal charges against subjects apprehended inside the vehicle. We also have several crime lab results that are currently pending, and we're hoping to solve several more of these cases as well. So again, remove your keys from inside the vehicle, and please lock your vehicle as well. Traffic statistics. Across the board, traffic enforcement was down in 2020. This is directly related to the pandemic. There was a period of time, March, April, May, where there was limited self-initiated traffic enforcement. That wasn't unique to Oakwood. That was throughout the region. And as a result of that, our overall traffic citations for 2020 were down, but also our vehicle accidents, the number of injuries reported as a result of those accidents, and OVI as well. A lot of these, this kind of chart is not unique to Oakwood. I think across the region, there was just limited self-initiated traffic enforcement going on for a significant period of time, and that's the reason for the significant reduction in overall citation. But I'm happy to report it didn't impact the vehicle accidents that were occurring on the street. EMS runs, in conjunction with a lot of other activity being down, so was a significant reduction in EMS runs. You know, right here we have our 5-year numbers from 2016 to 2020, and you can see last year were 363 medic runs. Even though people were home a lot more in 2020, we saw a significant overall decrease of our 5-year average, and especially from 2019 to 2020, with only having 363 medic runs. One number to point out here is mutual aid provided. In the past years, mutual aid provided right there, in 2019, we had 70 mutual aid provided medic runs. That means we responded to another community 70 times throughout the year to assist them with some type of medic run because of all their ambulances were on calls. If you look in 2020, that number dropped to 12. When you look at 2016 was 70, 2017 57, 2018 39, and again we were at 70 last year. So that was a significant reduction, over 80% in our response to other agencies. That directly correlates to a lot of neighboring jurisdictions. Their overall medic runs or EMS responses were down as well, so they had crews in service that were able to handle their calls. On the flip side of that is how many times did we, Oakwood, reach out to another EMS or fire department to have them come in and help us with our EMS calls? And for the 4th year in a row, the answer to that question is 0. We've been able to handle, for the last 4 years, every call that's come into our dispatch center of an EMS-related medical emergency. We've been able to respond and transport with our personnel. Fire runs, as you guys are aware, we did have a couple significant structure fires this year, one of which we just passed, council just passed legislation for the Fire Trust Fund. We had, overall, we had 111 fire responses last year. With 5 of them having some type of resulting in some type of damage to the structure. And our total fire loss, as you can see, is $495,000. With that being said, there were, as I mentioned, 2 significant structure fires during the 2020 calendar year. And when you combine those 2 structure fires, they account for approximately 95% of the total loss. The fire that was just talked about previously with the legislation had almost a $300,000 total fire loss for that one incident. So we were able to save the structures in both cases where they could have easily been a total loss. So that is the reason why our fire loss had increased so much from previous years. Our response time, our average engine response time is still well below the national average of 6 minutes. Last year it was 4.49 was our average response time, which was down from our 2019 number where we are just over 5. On the flip side of that, our cruiser response time was a little bit up. Our average first cruiser was on the scene in 2.6 minutes versus 2.25 the previous year, but well within acceptable range of how quickly we respond to the scene. Personnel changes. We did have a dispatcher retire at December 31st, 2020. Dispatcher Sherry Mucius. She retired with 20 plus years of service to the city of Oakwood. Prior to coming to us, she worked in social work. She was our primary day shift dispatcher, so for many of you out there who called in during the day, you probably talked to Dispatcher Mucius at some point or at one point or another. She also served as our leads TAC operator, so she'll be sorely missed, and we wish her the best in retirement. Sherry was a great employee to work with, and she was a great employee for the city of Oakwood. With her departure, that created an opening, and we added an excellent addition to our dispatch center. We hired dispatcher Sarah Murphy. She was hired on November 30th. She comes to Oakwood with a tremendous amount of experience in dispatching police, fire, and EMS with the city of Middletown. Sarah's completed her field training program, and she's already working on her own. So Sarah's been an excellent addition to the department thus far. Our in-service training program. I've touched on this in previous presentations. The Safety Department has a comprehensive in-service training program covering all 3 disciplines performed by the public safety officers, that's police, fire, and EMS. Over the past 5 years, the Safety Department has averaged 3,356 hours of in-service training annually. When you equate that to a 2,080-hour work year for a 40-hour work week employee, that's about a year and a half worth of training annually that's being dispersed amongst our department. The training is accomplished by various ways, online continuing education programs, classroom setting, and also practical training exercises. Here's a little chart, even of our last 5 years and a specific breakdown of the number. One thing I'd like to point out, 2020, we were all dealing with the pandemic in various ways at our employers, and even though we were dealing with the social distancing, the isolation, we were still able to provide over 3,600 of training hours to our safety department personnel last year, which when you look at our 5-year chart, that's the second highest total number of hours that we've been able to achieve as a department. So I think that's a testament to the men and women to stay committed even through trying and challenging times to make sure we're continuing to train to improve ourselves in all facets. Some specific police training, I think it's worth noting given everything that's taken place in our country over the past 9 months or so. Every sworn public safety officer during 2020 completed training on these following 5 topics. Racial profiling for traffic stops and field contacts, a culture diversity training course, a de-escalation for law enforcement, a psychological compliance and de-escalation training, and a journey through cultural competency. Happy to report that even though we were in a challenging time with the pandemic, we were able to host and complete and graduate our 3rd Citizens Police Academy. The primary difference in the 2020 Academy versus the previous academies is we reduced the student participation from 12 down to 8. So we provided a little bit more social distancing for the participants. I think it was another success. I think the 8 participants had a great time throughout the academy, learning a little bit about us and what we do. And I know everyone on our end, from the safety department personnel that participates, thoroughly enjoys the academy and interacting with our citizens who are so willing to take their time to learn a little bit about what we do. It's kind of a shameless plug for the next Citizens Police Academy. This is just a reminder that the CPA is free of charge. It is open to any Oakwood resident or individual working within the community. The next CPA will be scheduled for the fall of 2021, and applications will be accepted beginning in June. We're appreciative of the community's support of this program, and it is a tremendous way for us to interact with the community. Even though we limited to 8 this last time, we had a lot more applications than that, so I'm hoping we will fill this class up pretty quickly once we advertise, and our goal for the fall of 2021 is to resume a normal 12 participants for the academy class. Finally, the Ohio Collaborative. I've touched on this briefly before. It was established in 2014. It's a police advisory board. It was created to oversee implementation of recommendations for statewide policing standards in various areas. At home, if you have interested in learning a little bit more about the Ohio Collaborative, there's the website where you can go to and find all the information about the program. Although it's voluntary, the Ohio Collaborative certification process provides for an independent review of a police agency to demonstrate transparency, modern methods and standards, and open critique and feedback from assessors. Since the collaborative since it was first implemented in 2020 or in 2014, they continue to update and provide and add more standards for agency to show compliance with. And in this past year, or since I last presented to you, we've achieved compliance in the 2 latest standards that have been implemented by the collaborative. And in July in 2020, we received compliance for vehicular pursuits. And in January of 2021, it was the Safe Policing for Safe Community initiative. And that was all based off of the police reform executive order that President Trump signed back in June of 2020. surrounding, and more specifically, that standard governs the use of chokeholds specifically and carotid neck restraints. And we are in full compliance now with every standard that has been implemented by the collaborative. With that, I will take questions.
Questions for the chief? Can you say one more time, if you leave your keys in your car and it's unlocked, there's a high probability of it disappearing?
There is a chance that you could wake up in the morning and your car being gone, especially on a cold, snowy night if somebody needs a ride somewhere. So absolutely, please make sure you remove your keys from your vehicle and lock your car.
I didn't think that needed to be stated. Go ahead, Rob.
Chief Hill, I just want to, as council chair for safety and traffic, I tend to pay a little more attention to your department, and it's just part of my job. And I'm always impressed not only by the reports we get from the city manager, but everything we study. And then there's nothing better than being on council and getting a compliment from a fellow citizen. And I get those more often than not. And it's always good to hear. It's always, they say it in their own words, but it comes down to professionalism, yet our officers are being human as well. And I think that's very important. And I just want to thank you for your leadership, and also please send to them that I appreciate all their hard work.
Thank you. The last thing I just want to mention, because every day when we turn on the news, vaccine, vaccine, vaccine. For people out there, if you haven't seen the little article on the City of Oakwood's website, the vaccines have reached your local first responders. Many of us have already not only received our first dose of the vaccine, we've already received our second dose as well. So that is well along its way here locally within the community. So I just thought I would want to report that as well.
Great. That's good news.
Yep. Thank you, Council.
Thank you,
Appreciate
Chief.
it.
Thanks.
Appreciate it. On November 3rd, 2020, Councilmember Chris Epley was elected to a judicial position on the 2nd District Court of Appeals. Before he can begin that position, which starts on February 9th of this month, 2021, he must resign as a member of City Council. You're not allowed to hold 2 elected offices at the same time. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Your Honor?
Yes.
Okay. And I will turn the floor over to you because I believe you have some parting comments.
I do. Thank you very much, Mayor, members of Council, and City Manager Norb Klopp. On December 7th, 2020, I submitted my letter of resignation with this evening, February 1st, 2021, as my last meeting. I've enjoyed my 6.5 years on Oakwood City Council, and I thank you, Mayor Duncan, Vice Mayor Byington, Council members Rob Stevens and Ann Hilton for selecting me and appointing me in 2014 to fill a vacant seat. And thank you to the citizens of Oakwood for electing me again in 2015 and 2019. I feel honored to have served during the longest council meeting in history, and more recently, the shortest. I'd like to thank my wife, Eileen, and our kids, Jack and Lily, for supporting me throughout the years. City Manager Norb Klopp has been with the city since the early 90s and continues to lead this city with professionalism and patience. We are in good and steady hands under his stewardship. I know the city will continue to prosper with the addition of Lee Turbin to Oakwood City Council. Welcome, Lee. On Monday, February 8th, I will be sworn in as judge of the 2nd District Court of Appeals, and my first day on the bench will be the next day, Tuesday, February 9th. Again, thank you for the opportunity to serve this great city. It's been a very rewarding experience.
Thank you, Councilmember Epley. He has now tendered his resignation to be effective immediately upon the acceptance of council. I don't know what the protocol is if we choose not to accept, but is there a motion to accept Councilmember Epley's resignation?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Lori, would you, well, we can do a voice vote for that, so all those in favor of accepting Councilmember Epley's resignation to be effective today, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you, that is so ordered, and we look forward to seeing you again.
Yes.
You're welcome anytime.
I could only get a card.
Yes.
Okay, yeah. We found out tonight he doesn't have a swipe card to actually get in the building after hours. But, maybe we'll give you one,
Now you've earned it.
yeah, yes, an emeritus card, we'll call that. Okay, we now have a council vacancy under section 2.04 of our city charter. Council is responsible for the selection and appointment of a person to fill the vacancy. Mr. Epley's term would have lasted through the end of 2023, but under our charter, the appointment of his replacement is valid through the end of the current year only. The unexpired remainder of Mr. Epley's term, which is all of the years 2022 and 2023, will be on the ballot in November of this year, 2021. Anticipating this vacancy, Council made a public appeal for prospective candidates to submit applications during the month of December. This was announced through a December 3rd, 2020 press release. We had 14 applicants. Minimum qualifications to be appointed to council include being a registered voter and being an Oakwood resident for at least 2 years prior to being appointed. Beyond the minimum qualifications set forth in the city charter, we felt it was important to select a candidate with a demonstrated record of service to and involvement in our community. Consistent with the Ohio Sunshine Law and Oakwood Administrative Code, Council met in executive session on January 12 and January 20 to review applications and letters of recommendation. All of the candidates were outstanding, but one candidate in particular stood out based on a demonstrated record of service to and involvement in our community. At this time, is there a member of council who would like to make a nomination?
Yes, Your Honor. It would be my honor to nominate Lee Turbin to fill the vacant seat of Oakwood City Council.
And do we have a second?
Second.
Are there any other nominations? Hearing none, Lori, I would ask you to administer a roll call vote, please.
Mayor Duncan,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Byington,
Yes.
Mr. Stevens,
Yes.
Mrs. Hilton.
Yes.
Thank you. We will now have our law director, Rob Jacks, administer the oath of office to Lee. And I also want to introduce some special guests here in the meeting tonight, and they are welcome to join Lee as she does the oath. Her spouse, Dan Turbin, is here, along with her son, Kevin Connors, and her grandson, Jack Connors, and her great-granddaughter, Emma Bratton. If you want to come down and stand around Mom and Grandma and great-grandma, okay. You're all welcome.
Where you want to all be? Right hand. Repeat after me. I solemnly swear or affirm
I solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution
that I will support the Constitution
of the United States
of the United States
and of the State of Ohio,
and of the State of Ohio,
and will obey the laws thereof,
and will obey the laws thereof,
and that I will,
and that I will,
in all respects,
in all respects,
uphold and enforce
uphold and enforce
the provisions of the Charter
the provisions of the Charter
and ordinances of this city,
and ordinances of the city,
and will faithfully discharge
and will faithfully discharge
the duties of City Council member
the duties of City Council member
upon which I am about to enter.
upon which I am about to enter.
Councilmember Turbin, please join us at the dais. We do now at this time have our city manager's report. We've got a name tag already? Great. How about that?
Come on, it's Oakwood.
Way to go, Lori. Where are you hiding back there? I knew somebody was in charge here. Okay. Okay. The floor is yours, Norbert.
Yeah, thank you, Your Honor. First, I'd like to welcome Lee Turbin to council. Very much look forward to working with you, Lee. Congratulations. As I've done every month, quick report on the pandemic and our response here, and I'm happy to report again tonight that we're able to continue all of our services here from City Hall. We've had now several employees that have tested positive for the virus. Some have had symptoms, some have not, and fortunately everyone that did have symptoms has recovered and has returned back to work. So we're able to continue to provide all these essential public services, and I foresee being able to continue to do that throughout the hopefully short remainder of this pandemic. I want to comment briefly on the Oakwood Inclusion Coalition. There have been a couple articles in the Oakwood Register about the first meeting, which took place last Wednesday. It could not have gone better. We had about 100 Oakwood citizens participating. Unfortunately, it had to be done via the Zoom platform, but the technology worked beautifully, and we accomplished our objectives. We had the first meeting of this group, and we're able to hear from all the participants what they hope to see this citizen-driven organization do here in Oakwood. Some of the small subgroups we had shared experiences and stories. And again, it was all in all a very good meeting. Dan Turbin, who is here tonight, joined me and 6 other Oakwood residents about a year ago in beginning to have discussions and dialogue on establishing what we ultimately named the Oakwood Inclusion Coalition. And it's, while we have I think a real good establishing document for it, which is on our website, which I'll give you the address in a minute, the actual journey that we'll go on in the direction that this citizen-driven organization takes will depend in large part on the membership. And I've said numerous times that I believe the success of this group depends on a couple things. First and foremost, that it reaches deeply into our community. You know, that we really are able to connect with a broad base of our citizens. And secondly, that we bring to the table varied voices. You know, I need not say that here in America we have a lot of extreme opinions these days, and a lot of folks that are on different sides of many different issues. And I think if we're able to bring together a good balance of voices and opinions, willing to discuss difficult topics and issues, why I think we can really make this a meaningful organization for Oakwood, addressing all matters of inclusion, diversity, and equity. So the website is oakwoodic.org, and it's a little shout out to Josh Green, who volunteered his time to put together the website, did a wonderful job, and it's pretty basic right now, but there's enough information there that anyone that wants to learn more about it, I think in 20-minute read, you can really get up to speed on what we're about. So again, a wonderful meeting last Wednesday. We're planning to meet on a quarterly basis with the general membership, so the next meeting would be the last Wednesday in April. Again, real happy about the OIC. The snow and ice situation out on the streets is obvious, and our Public Works Department put in quite some overtime hours this past weekend, and I would just encourage all of our citizens to, you know, be safe out there, and you know, if you have driveways and are able to move cars off the street when inclement weather hits, why that makes it a lot easier for our crews, in particular the large plow and salt trucks, to maneuver our pretty tight streets. Then finally, our finance director Cindy Stafford and I are doing the final proofread of our 2021 budget book. You know, you'll recall at the December council meeting you approved the budget itself, but the book itself will be posted on our website as soon as it's done, which I think will be sometime later this week or perhaps early next week. But it's imminent, and there's a enormous amount of information in that document about all matters relating to city finances. So that's all I have tonight.
Does anyone have any questions for our city manager? Hearing none, it is now time for council comments. And our newest member of council, Councilmember Turbin, you get to go first.
Oh, boy. Thank you. Thank you. It is truly an honor and a privilege, and I look forward to working with the city and representing the citizens of Oakwood. So, thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Hilton.
No comments, Your Honor.
All righty. Councilmember Stevens.
Just a quick comment to thank Judge Epley. It was an honor to work with him for the 6.5 years. As a longtime friend, we go back to Harmon School days, and I got him by a year, so I'm much older than he is. But it was an honor. Chris's professionalism and wisdom is very noticeable every time we meet. And it was an honor to work with you, Chris, and I wish you all the best. And also welcome, Lee. It's great to have you. We're looking forward to working with you, and it should be a lot of fun.
And Vice Mayor Byington.
Yes, I'd like to start off with thanking all of the applicants who applied for the council position. One of the things that I am never shocked at is the unbelievable talent, skill, dedication, and just outright love for our community that our community has. When we went through this process, we got these applications. Reading through them was just very humbling at times. The amount of work that these folks are doing out there, I commend all of them for their desire to serve the city, and I hope that they continue to do the great things that they're doing in the community. Lee, it's a testament to you're the selection amongst all the other folks that were applied. Healy, I commend you as well for doing all the fantastic things that you're doing in the community, and encourage you to keep it up. I also want to say, is Chris still here? Oh, back there, okay. To Chris Epley, when I ran for council, I always saw running for a public position as being sort of a contract that you take with your community, that you enter into a contract with them that you promise to do your absolute best, and you try to do that in all the things that you do. When Chris said that he was running for a judge position, it was one of those times when I had absolutely no doubts that he was going to win. If there was anybody that I ever thought should be a judge, it would be Chris Epley. I believe, and I did so much by the fact that, I entered into a contract with you and that I voted for you, and I believe that you're going to do great things for the community. So I congratulate you on your new job, Your Honor, and look forward to seeing all the great things that you do. And Lee, I'm very excited about working with you in the future, and I think that we're going to continue to do great things for the city of Oakwood. So, yep, I think that's about it.
All right. Thank you, Vice Mayor Byington. Again, I would, yes, sir, Norb?
May I interrupt for a moment?
Sure.
I'm sorry. I forgot Healy Jackson is here. I mentioned earlier that Dan and I were joined by 6 other folks on this OIC. Well, Healy was another one of those. So the 3 of us were joined by 5 others in establishing the OIC. So I need to make sure to publicly recognize Healy for all her excellent work on that as well.
And she also serves on our planning commission as a volunteer.
Yes, she
and
does.
You haven't had many meetings lately, but but it's still when we have planning commission meetings, they're very important to our community. So I thank you as well. I'll echo the comments of the other members of council regarding both Chris and Lee. I know that Chris is quiet but thoughtful, and whenever he I think that's pretty good quality for a judge. He looks at both sides of the issue and thinks through the arguments logically and without bias or prejudice. And so I think you will be a good Court of Appeal judge. It's a 6-county area that you serve, and he spent a lot of time all during 2020 going to, I don't know how many rubber chicken meals you had to eat, but I'm sure there were quite a few. And but working with not just, it's not just Montgomery County that you're representing, but it's the 6-county area surrounding us too. So I think you'll enjoy it, and we hope to see you at other events in town. And Lee, I know we look forward to you. I know you've been very active in both the Oakwood Historical Society and have been a member of our 35-member Budget Review Committee. And I just want to report that this week I was able to officiate my first marriage ceremony of 2021. And we had two folks that one works at the University of Dayton, and his spouse is now going to be working as a grad assistant, I think, at Ohio State. They're both pretty smart. And I don't charge for my services, but I asked the people to give a donation to the Oakwood Historical Society. I've been doing that since I've been mayor for coming up on 10 years, and so it's a great organization, and I'm thinking of,
Appreciate it very much.
I'm thinking about raising the rate, but I haven't done it yet. So, so anyway, so we're looking forward to this new 5-member council serving the citizens of Oakwood, and it's sort of an easy job because we have such a great staff, led by Norbert Klopsch and Chief Hill and Rob Jackson. Where's Lori? She's hiding behind there.
On the column.
Okay. I see you.
Behind
I
the
do
column
see you.
over there.
Okay.
Yeah.
We need to figure out a way that I can still see her, make sure she's still awake during my comments. But anyway, our next meeting is going to be on Monday, March 1st, a mere 4 weeks away, and we look forward to seeing everyone who wishes to come to a council meeting, and we are adjourned.